In 1993, my dad called me and asked if I could come over to his office, which was about 2 blocks away from where I worked in downtown San Francisco. So I walked into the office, and it was totally empty. And my dad peeked around from the edge of the cubicle, and he said, "They laid everybody off except for me." I was stunned. He had worked with some of his colleagues for over 2 decades. One had worked for the company since college for 22 years. Her father had worked for the company until retirement. Her grandfather had worked for the company until retirement. And she was given 20 minutes to pack her belongings in a cardboard box and walk out of the building. At that moment in 1993, I knew that work life was not stable. But here's the interesting thing. Today, in 2014, at 79 years of age, my dad is still doing freelance photography for that same company. So in this new world economy, the only thing that we can count on is perpetual uncertainty. Markets crash, organizations have to continually change in order to survive. Institutions and career paths totally go away. So if we can't be looking for security in the external world, then where can we find it? We're going to talk about that in a second, but there's another important factor about this new world of work. For those of you who are 47 like I am or older, you will remember that we used to have these things called rotary telephones. Do you remember them? So for the younger folks in the audience, when you had a rotary telephone and you called somebody, the phone would just ring. There was no voicemail, there was no caller ID, there were no answering machines. So if somebody was trying to call you and you were away from your house and you got back to your house after the phone stopped ringing, you would have no idea that anybody was trying to get a hold of you. It was fantastic. So today, think about when you're trying to reach somebody. First you leave a voicemail, then a text message, then you jump on Google Chat to see if they're online, then you look at your phone on Instagram and their feed to see if they're their favorite restaurant or walking their dog in the park in order to find them. So in this new world of work, we are constantly connected. We are aware at all times about what is going on. We're feeling the uncertainty. And we're always concerned if our career or our company or our organization is going to survive another day. So if the external environment is not going to provide security, then where do we find it? I think we need to create internal security by building a body of work that is personally significant, that solves important and useful problems, and that builds a community of peers and community members that consider your work to be indispensable. So my definition of body of work is more than just lists on a resume or lists of products. My definition of your body of work is everything that you create, you contribute, you affect, and you impact throughout the course of your life. So that includes things like books and software code and intellectual property, art, organizations, but it also includes intangible things like love, connection, community, trust. Your body of work becomes your brand and your purpose and your personal legacy. So we can look at individuals like Maya Angelou or Albert Einstein and sort of understand what their body of work is. But when you talk about organizations that are made up of a huge collection of employees that have different interests and aspirations, it becomes a little bit more difficult in order to create a cohesive understanding of what an organization is. I used to live in Silicon Valley, and every day for 2.5 years, I went to the same chain coffee shop. And every day for 2.5 years, I ordered a large non-fat latte. And every day for 2.5 years, they never remembered my name nor my drink. So I moved to Lake Merritt in Oakland, and I started to go to Pete's Coffee. And after about 2 months of going to Pete's Coffee, one day I arrived at the counter, and the person behind the counter looked at me and she said, "Pam, we decided that you are our customer of the week." She said, "We're going to take your picture and put it on the counter, and all week long, you can get as many coffee drinks as you want." I said, out of curiosity, what's your criteria for customer of the week? And they said, "Oh, it's simple. You have to show up a lot, and we have to like you." So that wonderfully subjective criteria makes me so happy in the context of a body of work, because what Pete's Coffee was driving through their organization is what Daniel Pink in his book Drive called autonomy, mastery, and purpose. The Pete's Coffee employees told me as a customer that I had to be nice. I needed to hold the door open for elderly customers. I needed to give a knowing glance to the parent whose toddler was having a fit in the middle of the room. And when I went to go pay for my coffee at the cash register, I needed to put down my phone and look them in the eye and say, "Thank you so much for making this wonderful coffee for me. I hope you have an amazing day." When you build a company like that, it is absolutely impossible to not create brand evangelists. I have done a lot of things in my 47 years. I've traveled the world. I've worked with thousands of people to help make their work lives happier. I've given birth to 2 amazing children. I married a great man, and I got a wonderful bonus son. I wrote 2 books. Last July, I got a black belt in mixed martial arts. But you know what? I am still proud that I was customer of the week at Pete's Coffee 15 years ago. And I think I actually may want it on my epitaph. She showed up a lot, and we liked her. Probably better than any other one I would come up with. So to create your body of work, the foundation are your roots. And your roots are your values, your beliefs, the problems that you want to solve, and the people who you want to serve. My husband, Daryl, is full-blooded Native American. He's from the Navajo or Diné tribe in Arizona. And so in the Navajo tradition, men have long hair. And my 9-year-old son, Joshua, also has long hair that he wears in a braid. So one day, I was driving him back from football practice, and he said, "Mom, in school today, I went to the bathroom, and some of the older kids told me that because I had long hair, I had to go use the girls' bathroom." So I came to a stoplight, and I looked in the rearview mirror, and I said, "Son, if anybody ever says that to you in the future, here's what you can say. You can look them in the eye, and you can say, 'My name is Joshua Little Tree Slim. I am from the Diné tribe, and my people have been on this land for over 15,000 years. And in my tradition, your hair holds your wisdom. So all the prayers that your parents and your grandparents do for you, all of the knowledge that you gain in school and all the life experience that you have is captured in your hair. And when young warriors used to go out in the battlefield, they would untie their braids so that their hair could fly out on the battlefield, unleashing all of their power and their wisdom. So I am not a girl, I am a boy, and I am proud of who I am. As I was saying this to Josh, I noticed my fist was actually raised. I am an Anglo suburban mom driving a Chevy Tahoe. I felt down to the absolute core of my being that I had reached a root that was related to my body of work, because I know with absolute certainty that when we understand our true heritage, when we harness our unique talents and our beliefs, that's the key to unleashing the power to create the kind of change that we want to see in the world. And I believe that with the problems we have in the world today, we need a diverse and unique set of experiences in order to solve those problems. So your roots become the way that you make decisions about the kind of work you do, the kind of career path that you have. And for me personally, it's the reason why I choose to mentor professionals that might come from diverse or interesting backgrounds or underserved communities. It's why I choose to work with the author Susan Cain to help build her Quiet Revolution, to help teach the world about the amazing power of introverts in a world that is dominated by the extrovert ideal. And it's why, of all the places that I could leave my home and my family for to come speak, that I choose to come to Fargo, North Dakota, because many people think that you're this like cold place in the middle of nowhere with a bunch of people who talk funny, when in reality, what I know is that you are a hotbed of creative expression, you have institutionalized kindness, and you are truly a modern example of community and economic development. Yes. So your roots will guide your decisions in your career paths and your organizational strategy. Now, the second part of building your body of work is to define your ingredients. And your ingredients are all of your skills and your experience, your scars. And they include things like college degrees or the ability to speak French or Tagalog, negotiation skills, presentation skills. But they also include deeply personal, painful experiences that you've had that have shaped who you are and that have defined your character. One of my favorite examples of ingredients comes from my client named Kelly Newsom, who is a former lawyer turned women's wellness expert. And she is extremely intelligent. She is well-trained in yoga and positive psychology and natural medicine and stress reduction techniques. But she has this very unique ingredient, which is she can look at a pot of food on her stove and she can choose the perfect size Tupperware container to meet those ingredients. And she said, it is the weirdest thing. I can glance at the pot, I reach under the cabinet, and every single time I have the perfect size container for these leftovers. So as we were looking at her unique talents and what made her different from competitors in the marketplace, we begin to see this correlation between this strange Tupperware ingredient and her ability to naturally know the very specific prescription that she would give to her very diverse set of clients. Sometimes your peers and collaborators and even your family members don't know about your strongest ingredients. I don't know if any of you are aware that the singer John Legend was actually a management consultant at Boston Consulting Group out of college. I spoke with some of his former colleagues, and they said that he was very kind and he was quiet, and he would sit in his cubicle with earbuds in, humming softly, clue, and he would create Excel models for early-stage pharmaceutical companies. And so one of his former colleagues, Jane, said, I was not convinced that he would be good for client services because, frankly, he didn't really have a personality. And 2 years later, she said she was watching him on television at the Grammys, busting out of dry ice. And she realized that she was totally wrong. I imagine that here in this room, many of you have this equally unique set of ingredients that you may not talk about, you may not use in your career, or that you may not unleash in your organizations. So once you define what your roots are and you determine your ingredients, then you want to start to make some choices about how it is that you build your body of work. And one of the choices is, what kind of work mode do you want for this stage of your life? Do you want to be an employee? Do you want to be an entrepreneur or a freelancer or a volunteer, or maybe a combination of all of the above? For organizations, the same holds true for you. If you want to grow your organization, do you want to hire full-time employees? Do you want to hire contractors or part-time freelancers? In today's world of work, we have more work modes available to us than we ever have before. So you want to determine what's the best fit for you at this point in your life. Once you know how you want to work, then you have to decide, what do you want to create? So in the next 12 to 18 months, how can you create something great utilizing your roots connected to your ingredients that will make you indispensable to your peers, to your organization, to your market, or just to the workforce in general? Now, when you are in the process of creating something, you can't do it alone. You want to surround yourself with supportive peers and collaborators that can complement your own roots and ingredients. And during those dark times of the creative process, will remind you of why it is that you're deciding to build this body of work. And they'll help you remember to always connect to your roots. The other thing that you want to do as you build your body of work is you want to define success for yourself. All of us are very different. We have different values, we have different beliefs, and so you want to choose a definition of success that will actually make you feel personally successful. My own definition of success is to enjoy my life while I am living it. And this very simple philosophy actually guides many of the choices that I make about how I work and how I parent and who I partner with and the kinds of projects that I choose to work on. The final thing you want to do is to craft a story that weaves a thread between all of your roots and ingredients and experiences and makes the perfect case for why you are the perfect person or organization or product or filmmaker or artist to do this project at this time, right now. When I was writing my book, I interviewed my dad, and I asked him, in addition to building a body of work that clearly made him indispensable to his organization, why had he also chosen to be an active volunteer his entire adult life? For the last 30 years, my dad and my bonus mom, Dee, and a small group of volunteers have been slowly restoring a 100-year-old school in their very small town of Port Costa, California. So they have torn out the foundation and painted, and they've done fundraisers, including talent shows and art shows and car shows to raise money. My dad has tap danced in drag. He strained both of his rotator cuffs lifting a garbage can into a dumpster for one of the school cleanups when he was about 70 years old. And he once rented a helicopter so that he could fly above the school and take a picture that he could use in a grant proposal and for fundraising purposes. So I went inside the Port Costa school and I sat down with my dad and I said, "Pops, why would you spend 30 years of your life as a volunteer to restore one building?" And being the introvert that he is, he got very quiet. And then he started to look around at the walls and the ceiling. And he looked back at me and he said, "Have you seen this place?" This is meant to be an institution of learning. And at that moment, I realized that in addition to teaching me how to create a powerful body of work that made me indispensable in my career, he had given me the greatest example of all, which was permission to do the work that needs to be done, whether you get paid for it or not. So what about you? What work needs to be done? What's your body of work? What do you want to build in the next 12 to 18 months? Is it a book? Is it a documentary? Is it entering a new market? Your body of work will bring you security, and it will build your legacy. Let's get started. Thank you.